What is going on, people? Welcome to a Transfer Deadline Day special, and that is transfer news happening on the day. As you can see from the title, Rob Holding has agreed to join Palace on a deal reported to be around £4 million, 3-year contract. So we'll be discussing that and also the latest updates on Deadline Day. But before we actually continue with anything, I know you was going to think I was going to say like, subscribe. Of course, go and do that. But at 8 p.m. tonight, we'll be having a Transfer Deadline Day special until the window is shut. So make sure to join us tonight, UK time, 8 p.m. for that Deadline Day special. I'm joined by Patrick here. Patrick, look, Rob Holding, 3-year deal. I'll be honest, it came out of nowhere for me. I was not expecting us to go for Rob Holding. But what do you make of it? £4 million. 27 years old, coming from Arsenal. Are you happy with the deal?
I don't quite understand the deal, to be honest. I mean, the money's fine, 4 million, but didn't know we had a need for a centre half. I went and checked. I thought he could play right back too. He doesn't play right back. He can play in a 3. So I'm not really sure why he did it. I said I'm a little confused. If it's cover when Tompkins doesn't come back next season and bet him in for a year, then it would make more sense to me. But being that it's deadline day, I figured you would address more deadline issues like a wide player or a striker, so they get or a right back or left back option. I don't understand the deal. I don't have a problem with the player in general. He's a decent player, Rob Holding, come from a big club, but I just don't understand the need right now for a centre half on deadline day.
Yeah. So also, I forgot to mention as well, Dan Potts, the Arsenal fan, is going to be joining us live in about 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, keep send them in the chat. I'll save them and we can ask Potts as well. Just genuine questions about Rob Holding. But he'll be joining us after we give our reaction. Look, I'll be honest. When I first saw the news, I got a bit mad because I was thinking, as you said, Patrick, we don't need a centre back. Just like you can make the argument, we need a goalkeeper, etc. But that's another conversation. So I was a bit confused. But then again, when you look at the finances involved, don't you think is an improvement to what we have already in terms of James Tompkins? I think that's why we're doing the deal in the first place.
Did you listen to what I just said? I just said that. That really makes sense. I just said that to you. I agree with you on that part.
But, so would you be happy with that then?
But again, it's not a need. It's not a need for this season. Again, I get it. If we're doing some kind of forward planning for next season, it makes total sense. I know T and I were both big fans of Jacob Ryan. We could have kept Jacob Ryan for less than this, but he wants to sign a contract. So I'm not really sure the need. I'm not saying it's a bad deal. I think Holding's a very good centre half, backup wise. But I don't see the need today on deadline day when we have fullback issues, obviously wide player and or striker issues. Why would we sign him today? I know because I pay attention to Arsenal. I know they wanted to get rid of quite a few players on their, in their squad because their squad's too big. Don't you, D? I would have taken Cedric Suarez from them as an option rather than Holding because he can play left back and right back. But again, I have no issue with Holding. I just don't get it. Listen, we have now 5 centre halves, right? Gehi, Anderson, Tompkins, Richards, and now Holding. I hope this does not push Richards either out of the club or to 5th because Richards to me is better than Holding. He's better than Tompkins. But under our current manager, he's not playing that as much. He did play against him, which is great. Again, he can play right back, him being Richards. He doesn't want to play it, but maybe now we'll push him to right back the rest of the season. I don't know what's going on in the background, but if that's going to happen, then I wouldn't be against that. But right now, again, I just don't see the need for Holding right now as a forward planning idea for Tompkins. 100% great idea. But right now, deadline day, I can get it.
Yeah, let us know what you think as well about the Rob Holding signing £4 million from Arsenal on a 3-year deal. Are you happy with the deal? Are you a bit surprised about it? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Look, as I said, I think it is an improvement to the squad overall, and I think Roy Hodgson spoke about it as well in his Wolves pre-match interview about the Rob Holding links, and he said how he would be happy with Holding because he thinks he's a good player and there's still space on a 25-man squad. So he sees it as an improvement. But of course, we'll also mention the latest rumours towards the end of the show, the most up-to-date with the striker situation, who it seems like it's heating up between Palace and PSG, whether we can get a deal done for a youngster who is very highly rated over there. But we'll update you guys at the end of the show. Andy saying, hey guys, back from Florida holidays, how you doing? We're doing fine. Arvada says, I have a terrible feeling that he's our last signing. I hope that's not the case. But look, in terms of where you can play, if you if you don't already know about Rob Holding, he'll be playing centre half. But then again, Patrick, some people mentioned it saying, oh, if Gahey or Anderson was to leave next summer, then Holding can fit in. For me, I disagree. I just feel like we'll need to improve quality. But in terms of depth options, and we saw against Plymouth, first half we struggled massively. Tompkins was at the back. Richards seemed like he had a good game. When you're facing the likes of, let's say, United away from home in the Carabao Cup, having Richards and Rob Holding as a pairing, as their second pairing, that is actually a solid, centre-half pairing. Don't you think so? Don't you think this is a nice bit of deal from Palace? I understand you're saying we don't need it, but if it's as small as £4 million, then that shouldn't really impact our finances in the first place. And I don't think that we'll be doing a deal where it increases our chance or decrease our chances dramatically of not getting a striker. So I don't think it should impact the striker situation as well. So when you look at the future, don't you think, this deal could actually help us in the long run, especially in cup competitions?
I think the United game can be a very tough game to win with Rob Holding or without him. But again, I don't have an issue with him coming at the money. I just don't understand the need for him. Yes, he's an upgrade on Tompkins, but you and I both know. Listen, if Roy said to Parish and Dougie that he wanted Rob Holding, then he'll play. But he's already shown a preference to Tompkins anyway right now. So Tompkins seems like he's the third centre half anyway. So is Holding now fourth ahead of Richards, or is he third? I don't know what the pecking order is going to be. Again, I don't have a problem with squad depth. We need squad depth. We just don't need squad depth at centre half. We just don't need it right now. We do next season, no doubt, because I totally agree. Tompkins will be gone. One of Gahey or Anderson going to be gone. So having Holding here would be great. But do we need him now? I don't think we need him now. But again, I don't know what's going on in the background. I'm hoping that this is a precursor to another deal of some kind with a forward-thinking player. Again, Holding cannot play right back, so that's out of the picture. So,
yeah,
but he can play in the back three. So I'd be comfortable with Gahey, Anderson, Holding, and then maybe go to wing backs. But the problem is we don't have wing backs, so there's that option. So no, I have no problem with Holding as a player. He had an ACL injury about 5 years ago, 2018-19. Played in the cup final for Arsenal. He's a good player, man. He's rated very highly. They paid $2 million for him. I know a lot about Robin. I watch Arsenal play a lot. He doesn't play. He's not been a part of Arteta's plans for a long time because they have, Saliba, etc. in the back, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel. So he's never been part. He hasn't been in the part. When he came in last year, or end season ago, Arsenal fans were happy because the quality dropped. That's Arsenal quality, not Palace quality.
That's what I was going to say.
No, trust me, he can play. He's a good Palace player. Again, I have no issue with the money or him coming in. I just have an issue with the timing. That's the only issue I have, D. I listen. Again, I know him pretty well. Looking forward to talk to Dan Potts about him and how he feels about him. But as a player, no issue. I just don't see the need. We have 4 centre halves right now. Now, we sent out John Kamani Gordon today on loan to Cambridge. I'm only mentioning that because that's one less player that was been on the bench for the first 3 matches. Obviously, Holding will get that spot now. So but our squad's not that deep with Olise and França and Hughes being injured. So again, for a squad depth option, 100%. Even for an option if Anderson or Gahey were injured, I'm happy with Holding or Richards. I'm just saying right now, I don't quite get it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think in the comment section down below. And if you're enjoying this, make sure to hit the like button. People, it takes a second of your time and helps the algorithm massively. As if you're joining now, as I said at the start of the show, tonight at 8 p.m. we're all expecting you to be here for Transfer Deadline Day show. Hopefully, we can get as many people to join to give their thoughts on the transfer window overall. And let's see if we can get a forward deal done sooner rather than later. As we're approaching 5 p.m., there's not that long left of the window. And in the last 3 hours, we'll be here discussing all the latest with Palace as well. But Patrick, before we get Potts on, I just wanted to say, I think you made a very good point about Rob Holding at Arsenal versus Palace, because I feel like he's been written off massively due to how he was at Arsenal. I don't think he's an Arsenal. It's not even an Arsenal type of player. I just don't think he's a player that's going to win you the league. And Arsenal were trying to do that last year. Exactly. And in a harsh way, I can admit that I think Rob Holding did kind of cost them the title, because if Saliba wasn't injured, then and if they still had Saliba rather than Rob Holding, I think they could have potentially won the title. But when you compare what you can offer to Palace, and right now, look, with the Dean Henderson versus Jack Butland, you can have that debate who's going to be number one. But I don't think there's no debate here. Rob Holding is not going to go ahead of Joachim Andersen or Mark Gahey. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. So when you consider Rob Holding coming to Palace's bench and improving our squad like that for £4 million, I'm fine with it. At first, when I first saw the tweet about Rob Holding being linked with Palace, I was like, are we allergic? Are we allergic to signing to the position that we actually need to improve on? But then again, after I've calmed down, processed information, I do think this is a positive signing. So before we go to the comments, what would you give this signing out of 10?
I'll give it 7 because again, I rate the player, but again, I don't rate the position and the need. So I give it a 7 out of 10. Again, I have no problem with him. I'll be honest with you, like I said, listen, I love Chris Richards. He's prone to injury. I don't want to see Tompkins because Tompkins is in his 30s now. So if Gehi Anderson are injured, I'd much rather have Holding in there if it's not Richards than have Tompkins in there. It's a pretty major for me upgrade. So from that standpoint, it's a good deal. But I can't give more than a 7. Like I said, it's not a need. You know, the need is obviously what would have been for me would have been a right back option, which we're never going to get anyway. But at least a left back that can cover Mitchell, and then obviously a forward, a player can play, you know, left side, right side, or forward or striker, obviously. So
yeah, exactly. For me, I'll be honest, I'm going to give it higher than 7. I'm going to give it 8. I feel like it's an improvement to the squad. I feel like it's an improvement to Tompkins. Of course, you can have that debate whether Roy's going to use him or James Tompkins. But for me, I think he's an overall improvement. £4 million, 3-year deal, only 27 years old as well, has Premier League experience. I think we're signing a very solid player, which improves our centre-back options. Now, with other positions, we can be scared about injuries, but with centre-half, of course, there's going to be a drop-off from Mark Gehi and Joachim Andersen. But I feel like the alternative options, they are good enough to come in and step in and do a job now. And we're pretty much covered there. Now, from here onwards, please, no more centre-half talk. Please. Like, I don't want to hear us signing another centre-back or another goalkeeper. We're signing the positions that, as you said, we don't need to. But if I take that away and look at Rob Holding as an improvement to the squad, I think it has to be an 8 out of 10. Of saying I give Rob Holding by an 8 out of 10 as well. And Charlie said 4 million isn't bad, though transfers have lacked ambitions as always. And he follows up by saying Richards and Holding will probably be our future centre-backs after Gehi and leaves.
Interesting.
I don't think, I wouldn't want that to happen. And I don't think that'll be the case. I'll be honest. I don't think that'll be the case. Paul says, what the hell is happening with centre forward, but Holding is a good player. We're going to talk about that. We're waiting on right now Dan Potts to join the show. He's going to give his thoughts on Rob Holding, an Arsenal fan from the 12th Man podcast as well. So if you have any questions, save them for him. And then after that, we'll give a quick update on the latest that's going on right now in terms of transfers. And yeah, there's some interesting updates today. I'll be honest with the striker situation. And spoiler alert, it's not Iheanacho. Yeah.
Can I talk about Henderson for a bit? Because I wasn't on.
Go on. Whilst we're waiting for Potts, go on.
I understand the amount is a bit high and the wages are high, but I have no issue with the Henderson signing, and I'll tell you why. One, Guaita forced our hand. Obviously, clearly him wanted to leave. We couldn't get stuck with Remy Murphy as our backup. He knows Sam Johnson. Apparently Sam Johnson was at his wedding. They're good friends. He's gonna push Johnson. I always feel like even the club guys, we have to have options that push. God forbid Johnson get injured. Remember, he was injured last season and we had to play Whitworth in goal. Henderson is a great backup. Henderson's going to want to be the number one keeper. Will probably be the number one keeper next year anyway. I think it's a really good signing. Again, I think he's got a bit of an ego on him, which I have no issue with. That he wants to be the best. He also wants to get back in the squad. I think it makes me really happy now with our goal. I think the best combination we've had of goalkeepers we've ever had, probably. I think when we had Johnston, Guaita, and Butland, that was 3 obviously top class goalkeepers. But I think Henderson's signing is great. The money, I know people get money. The money doesn't bother me because it's not my money, and the fact that I don't think we're stupid enough to have taken money from a possible striker to buy the goalkeeper. And again, Guaita forced our hand, so the opportunity came up to get a top quality goalkeeper. Henderson for me was a good choice.
Yeah, I get it. I agree with you as well. I just think as long as they get along well, having Henderson and Sam Johnson as like a number 1, number 2 options, you can't go really wrong with that as well. Now let's bring on our special guest, the one and only Potsy, Dan Potts from 12 Man Podcast, also features on AFTV. Potts, thank you for coming on last minute. Of course, Rob Holding, we've got him now, so you don't have to cry about Rob Holding anymore. Just your thoughts on the deal. Look, £4 million. He's joining for a reported deal of a 3-year deal as well to Palace, 27 years old. Are you happy with the finances involved as an Arsenal fan, or you don't really care about it?
Yeah, well, listen, first of all, big up, man, for having me on. Always happy to support the channel and come on and speak to you guys. Big up to Pat as well. It's been a while, man. Hope you're well.
Yeah,
Um,
appreciate it, man.
listen, I'm happy with this one because Rob Holding is not the level that we need. I don't believe he's as good as Anderson or Guehi, so I think this is going to be a backup player for you guys. I don't know how depthy your centre backs are. I don't really know. I think they're quite young, some of your backups, aren't they? So perhaps he'll come in and give some strength and depth to what Palace are doing, unless Roy Hodgson decides to play him in a free at the back or something. But I can't see that happening. £4 million is about right. I don't know. I don't think he's an unbelievable player. I actually think Rob Holding's been a good servant for 7 years at Arsenal. He's done the business at times. He's also come and cost us games. So he's been one of those that you look at and always see mistakes in his game. I will say though, the one thing about him is his attitude is spot on in terms of his professionalism. He'll give you 110%. He's one of the leaders in the dressing room. People look up to him, and he's kind of seen, because he's been around for 7 years by the young players, as the one that's been there and has seen it all. Now, unfortunately for Rob Holding, he's seen it all, but he hasn't done it all, right? But he has got a couple of FA Cups, yeah? And I'm sure Palace would take a couple of FA Cups. So he knows what it's like to win something, kind of like some of your boys, right? I have to say that. I might, no, that's not towards you, Pat. That's only towards
That's
D,
fair.
because he gives me a hard time.
That's fair.
But listen, I do think that could be a signing you're looking at and thinking, okay, like backup. The only thing I will say is Palace haven't had great record at signing Arsenal players, have they? Do you know what I mean? We've taken a few from you. Obviously, Wrighty was probably my favourite ever player that we got from you guys. But you've had Shamak. You've had
Shamak is underrated.
Kenny Sansom, yeah, as well. Great shout.
My time. Yeah, my time. Yeah.
But listen, you've had Flamini as well. Adebayor. Was it Adebayor you've had as well? Shamak. Who else was there, man? There must be more. There must be more.
We don't really like getting Arsenal players. There isn't that
that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. But listen, Rob Holding at 27, to be honest, for a 3-year deal, you're going to have him till he's 30 years old. If you want him, a player who's a backup, who you can rely on to come in for a few games, at the kind of difference of Arsenal, where Arsenal were trying to push to, he weren't going to be about anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? As far as Crystal Palace are concerned, if, let's say, Guehi goes down, would you rather have your backup now? Would you rather have Rob Holding? That's a serious question to you, because I don't know. I don't know who you've got as backup. So do you think it's a good signing?
Yeah, I think it's a good signing. But before we talk about that, come back to me when you got your Zenith Data Systems trophy, yeah? When you talk about trophies.
Zenith Data Systems. Yeah, man. Listen, you can have one up on me on that one.
Exactly.
I can't talk.
Exactly. We got the same amount of European trophies. But look,
be clear, D don't speak for me, bro. All right, D don't speak for me. I'm not getting involved in this. Speak for me, man.
No, but look, I think that's a very good question. For me, it's very hard. I think Chris Richards, that should be the number 3 option. But then again, I could see Roy going for Rob Holding because he hasn't really given Richards a chance. Look, Tompkins should be out of the equation now, with all due respect. We shouldn't be talking about James Tompkins from here onwards, especially when we have Richards and Rob Holding at the back as options. So, yeah, for me, I would still give it to Richards, but I think it could be Rob Holding due to his experience as well. But, Poss, I just wanted to ask you a question before Patrick answers that as well, so you can think about it. How would you describe him as a player? Is he like a ball-playing defender? Is he comfortable in the air? Is he, good at slide tackling? Like, how would you describe Rob Holding as a player as well?
Yeah, he's more of the latter, man. He's definitely not a ball-playing centre-half. Want anything in the air, bro, he's calm. Like, really good. That's probably his strength, if I'm honest with you. I've been quite impressed with the ability of Rob Holding's old-school defending. He's not one that you look at as a modern-day centre-back. I know this is an extreme comparison, but when William Saliba's come into the mix, you just know straight away it's like, wow, calm, composed, on the ball, very good distribution. Rob Holding is quite the opposite of that, and he's a little bit more old school, where he would be described as more of giving 110%, slide tackles, heading, strength, ability in that way. If you put him on the ball, then I would say there's definitely some mistakes to his game. What I will say, Arsenal fans can be a bit harsh with Rob Holding. They'll sit there and say, we've got Rob Holding and we're going to lose. But actually, do you know what? Against Palace last year, he was phenomenal at home at the Emirates, right? There was another game we played after that. Maybe it was Leeds. He was phenomenal again. And Saliba had got this knock and we were really worried and we were like, oh no, what's going to happen here? We've got Holding. Now, listen, in the end, it didn't work out for him, and he did make some mistakes, right? But when you look at it, when he's come on, he's been all right. He's not been a shambles. He's not good enough, but it's not been like, well, get this guy out my club like Mustafi's and like the Stepanovs and Sylvester and Cinderosses. These guys we've had, right? He doesn't fit into that bracket for me, like Rob Holding. Now I don't know if that's the biggest compliment or not, because those players are shocking. But I do think that what I would get at is the 7 years that we were there. He's won trophies. He's been a part of it, and Arteta used to use him for a free at the back. So I remember against Anfield, we were hanging on, throw Rob Holding on, go free at the back, he'll keep it calm. And to be fair, he did a couple of times. So I'm not going to start slagging off this player too much, because for 7 years, he's given 110%. He's definitely got leadership qualities. That's something that I would say that sometimes off the field matters as well as on the field. That's definitely someone you're going to have in your dressing room that's going to be good communication. He's been around some great players. He's also had, the respect that people have for him. And I think that when you've played under Arsene Wenger and now you've played under a young manager in Mikel Arteta around young players and great players, you're going to have that respect, particularly for Crystal Palace players. People like that are going to come up to him and say, oh, let's learn what you've learned, because it might not be you teaching me something. It might be him teaching the players something that he'd learned off of greats. And that's so important in a dressing room for me. So there's definitely strengths, man. I'm not going to say you're going to go and finish like towards Europe now because of Rob Holding, but you certainly got a player that will come and give you a solid, man, 100.
Yeah, Potts, I'm not going to keep you for much longer. I know you're busy, but just a question. I think I know the answer to this as well. But can you only play centre back? I think that's the case, right? You can't play as a fullback, as you played for fullback before.
Yeah, back two or back three. He's fine, but I wouldn't trust his ability on the ball at right back or left back or any fullback position, because it's just not as comfortable on the ball as perhaps some of the other options. And let's be real, I wouldn't look at Crystal Palace's team from an outsider and go, you need centre-halves, your centre-halves are trash. So I think this player's coming in to complement what you've already got, as opposed to competing for a first-team place. There's no doubt that, he'll want to play first-team football at Palace for sure. But Guehi and Anderson, let's be real, they're better. They're better, man. Like they're better than Rob Holding. So I think now he's coming in to be strength in depth, which is never a bad thing if you need that at Palace. Everyone needs strength in depth, man.
Exactly.
Dan,
go on.
I got a quick question. I know that he was booked by Wenger, and he under Emery got an injury. So how was he before the injury versus after the injury? Because I think that really hurt his been pushing on.
Yeah, it's a great question, to be fair. He came into the mix and he won us an FA Cup by playing probably some of the best football he had played. And I think for me, the games he's played in important games, he's actually come out on top. I think he rises to those occasions. The mistakes he makes are like, let's say, a Europa League game against Olympiacos, he might fall over his feet or something. Do you know what I mean? Or he'll go play Everton and then he'll pass back will be like a suicidal one. But when he actually gets up for a semi-final in Europe, or for a game in the FA Cup final, let's say, or whatever it be, big occasions, he actually hasn't been too bad. Now, unfortunately, there has got stage now where he's got to that age where I think Manchester City last year, it just weren't working for him. I had no confidence going into the. I mean, listen, this is an unbelievable side, by the way. It's not like we're playing a poor side, but against those sides now, it just ain't for us, man. We need better than that if we're going to be competing at that level. He's a top 4 player in the squad if we want to keep in the top 4. But if we're going for the title like we want to, which I don't think we've done enough, by the way, but I won't go in there because I'm going to be ranting later about that. But I think personally that's the sort of player we need to be now moving on, right, and upgrading on. So I think before his injury, I wouldn't say there's a huge downgrade, Pat, but I think it would have been interesting to see how much improvement he could have got, or how if he could have got any better without that injury, of course. But it's hindsight now.
Yeah. Well, look, Potts, look, thank you for coming on. I'll be on your channel as well. But before you go, shout it out, 12 Man Podcast. I posted a link as well, people. So if you haven't already done so, I'm on the channel on a regular basis. Go and click on that link and subscribe. But how else can they find you?
Nice one, bro. Listen, thanks for having me on, both of you. Much appreciated. Make sure you do us a favor and like and subscribe to this one first, people. And then if you do want to come over on my socials, it's at DanArsenal87. And then Football's 12th Man Podcast is what appears very, very regularly. And at 7 p.m, we're doing transfer deadline stuff. So, let's talk about that, bro. I'm looking forward to having you on, bro. For for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I'll be on talking about Rob Holding, giving my perspective on the channel. But look, Potts, really appreciate your time and thank you for coming on, bro.
Top
Hey,
man,
man, Pod,
anytime.
see you,
Take care, you guys.
Take care. See you
Cheers,
later.
Pat.
Alright, bro.
Take care, guys.
All right,
Later.
yeah, mate.
That was Dan Potts from the 12 Man Podcast. Make sure to go check that out. The link has been posted. Subscribe to the channel as well. Big up Back of the Net. This is the funny thing. Every time we're on Potts' channel, Back of the Net, the Bournemouth fan channel, Back of the Nest, it easily gets confused. But big up Back of the Net as well. Great Bournemouth channel, and of course, thank you for giving us Lerma. that's the great thing about Bournemouth right now. But look, Bournemouth having a great time as well, Patrick. With their signing, so yeah,
they're having a fantastic window. Jeez, I wish we had half the window they're having right now.
Exactly, but they gave us Lerma, so you know they can still be smiling whilst giving us Lerma because they rate Lerma highly, and despite that, they've improved the squad massively as well. So big up Back of the Net. Go subscribe to Back of the Net, AFC Bournemouth fan channel as well. So Patrick, before we wrap this up, because of course we've got a 3-hour show at 8 p.m. Talking about deadline day and all the business and literally all the updates as well. Let's quickly talk about what is the latest going on before we actually head into that show. So right now, with the striker situation, it seems like Palace are working on the deal with PSG on Hugo Ekitike, but the move is rated as doubtful as it stands. Palace are also interested in Che Adams at Southampton, but he's likely to stay. That is according to Mail Sport. Now, we'll talk about it. I mean, we've got 3 hours to talk about it all. But just quickly, if we don't sign a striker in this window, would that significantly change the view of the whole window, despite us bringing in, a few additions, keeping Elise as well? What do you make of the striker situation?
I'm not as interested in a striker per se as I am a forward player that can play across the line. I think that's more important. I think that, people are going to put down Mateta, Edouard, and even in a pinch, Ayew. If we can get a player that can be like what Ayew does, can play across the line, I would be happy with that. Listen, the market for a striker this late in the market or anytime is going to be very difficult. There's no doubt about it. It would have been difficult. Now it's difficult when the window first opened. You have to overpay. My idea was always to go and get Florian Balogun. He's off to France. That didn't happen. The money they spent, we probably could have matched that. Plus that team's, honestly, they're where they're going. We can't match that. It's disappointing if we don't bring in a forward-thinking player. It's going to bother me, but I don't. At this point, I'm not even sure how to think. Honestly, because I've seen other teams around us. I've seen players that we were linked with. I don't know if it's true, but Sinisterra might be going to Bournemouth. Apparently, he's a good.
Might be staying
player.
Apparently.
Well, I hope he stays because I don't want Bournemouth to get any better. They've already had a great window. They don't need to get any better. The only thing I'll say is this, right, D, is that not as a striking issue. At least, we do still have Olise obviously coming back soon. France can come in and can play, behind the three. Like he can play where Eze plays, can play out wide left, wide right. That's encouraging. And hopefully we're going to keep Rak-Sakyi. Now we haven't used Rak-Sakyi, but we've seen in the past, man, when we've blooded youngsters when we needed to, they've done well. I mean, it's only happened twice, obviously, Mitchell and Wan-Bissaka, but it happened. Maybe that'll be the third time lucky. So, but again, we do need a forward. We do. But I just think this late in the window, we're going to either overpay or overstretch. My thing is, can we get a loan? That's what the Etiquette deal is supposed to be, loan with the option to buy. I don't think PSG is gonna do it on deadline day. But do we have to address it 100%? Who will it be? I've got no idea. I will say this: I saw Cody Seacamp mention this player. I go get him now also from Forest. He's not going to play at Forest. He hasn't been on the bench, I don't think, this season. I mentioned knows him very well, so there's not an issue of him playing, and he can play across the front line. He'd be perfect. I don't know what the money's like. Maybe get him on loan. But besides that, I don't know what's going on. But I really hope we get someone between now and the deadline because we need to get another. I'm not gonna say strike. We need another forward player. We just do. We need to get somebody.
Yeah, we need another forward. I've said it. I said it on yesterday's stream as well. If you don't get another forward player, that's just genuinely pathetic. I know we've done some very good business. I think signing Lerma on a free deal was great to find him like that and attract him to the football club. Keeping Elise was fantastic as well. But we've been talking about it last season. I mean, this is a problem that's not new. This is a problem that's been at Palace for a while. We know that, we know the strengths of Mateta, we know the strengths of Edouard, but we both know that both of them, they haven't really done it consistently for Palace in the Premier League level. So we've known that we could 100% improve in that area. So it was on us. I mean, we've had the whole summer to focus on that position. Now we left it to the last 6 hours, less than 6 hours now, and we have to go get a deal done. So the latest is with Hugo is that Palace, according to reports anyways, that Palace offered a loan with an option to buy for around £26 million, but it seems like PSG are only willing to sell him on a permanent transfer rather than a loan move. So right now that deal, it seems like it is off. But I mean, can we find money last minute somewhere in the last 6 hours and get a permanent transfer? That'd be absolutely fantastic. But I just don't see us spending that kind of money for now. But if we were to get him, Patrick, I think that would be fantastic. I think that would excite everyone again. I think he's played with Elise as well for France under 21 levels. Highly rated PSG striker who's wanted by other Premier League teams as well. I think that would be, look, Iheanacho, it seems like that is off now unless something happens in the last 6 hours.
Not gonna happen.
This seems like even a better option than Iheanacho in terms of like the age, the excitement, the potential. But that's the thing. I mean, we left it last minute. We have to try and get something done. And I guess time would tell. Tommy's saying, are they actually talking about extending a young Philippe Mateta's contract? The less I say, the better, because I got I got Patrick here with me. But what do you think about that quickly before we wrap up the show?
I thought that was a silly rumor that went out. I don't believe it's going to happen. The only way we do it is to protect the value if we're going to sell him at some point. But I don't think it's a. We signed him into contract like a year ago. Towards 2026. We have until 3 more years. I just think it was put out there to rile up the fan base. I don't think it makes any sense, honestly. If we did, I don't have a problem with it. You know how I feel about him. He's never been bad. If people made it out to be, he scored some massive goals for us, and I will say massive, not big, but as far as him being our striker option, it's not the choice I would have, obviously. But to be honest with you, we ain't got 40 million under the sofa or under the couch to get another striker. So right now, it's the best we have. So deal with what we have.
We'll talk about Mateta in our show anyways later on. I mean, trust me, he'll probably come up in the conversation because he was one that was rumored to leave the club. Yeah, and it seems like he's staying. So we'll talk about whether that's a good thing, what he can offer, what pros and strengths to that of him staying. But we're going to end it with this. Leon says, Rob Holding, W or L. Me and Patrick, I think we're both happy with it. Patrick says 7 out of 10. I said 8 out of 10 for the transfer. I think a solid business, experienced player that improves our squad, especially at the back. Even though we don't need to really strengthen in that area, it's still a W for that price tag. But people, if you're just joining us now, if you haven't already done so, subscribe, like. Let's get over 100 likes. At 8 p.m. tonight, we'll be here till the window is shut. Let's see if Palace get that forward player that we've been talking about for ages. We'll be covering all the latest with Palace for 3 hours. So make sure to join us live tonight at 8 p.m. on our YouTube channel. But look, thank you to Patrick and thank you to Dan Potts as well. Make sure to go and check out 12 Man Podcast and subscribe to that. I'll be on there around 7 p.m. for like 10-15 minutes giving my thoughts on the transfer window. But that's it for the Rob Holding reaction. If you just joined us now, make sure to watch the whole show as we have an Arsenal fan, Dan Potts, from 12 Man Podcast, who basically answers all the questions about him, whether it's a good signing, how he fits into Palace. It was great speaking to him. But that's it from me. I'm Patrick. And until next time, up the Palace, people.